Welcome to Here for the Comments, a Dobbino podcast. We are in, as you can see, a brand new studio because like any startup, we love to evolve, iterate, learn, and here we are with two of my favorite people. Jen Copeland, Senior Strategy Director at Dobbino, and Daniel Cobb, aka Cobb.
What's up?
Who is our creative lead. It is really awesome to have both of you here. We're here today to talk a little bit about the Dobbino story.
I feel like you forgot to introduce somebody.
I did.
Yeah.
Dobbinus Maximus III.
Thank you.
He is our team mascot. Funny anecdote, little story. Should we tell me about the story?
Sure, go ahead.
So we sat obviously in a team meeting a while ago where we wanted our team to come up with a mascot, someone that sort of represents our spirit and our energy. And for what a lot of people don't know, the word Dobbin actually means workhorse. Mm-hmm. So enter Dobbinus Maximus III. He is also AI powered. So maybe in future episodes, we'll have a full on conversation with him.
Maybe once you feed him, because he looks like he needs a little food.
I mean, he's a racehorse. They're supposed to be lean and mean.
Yeah, but he's stout and short.
Needs lots of water.
He certainly does.
Hydrated.
He certainly does. So let me introduce this incredible duo with me today. Jen, her and I have a long history, an illustrious history, yes. Some may say.
Yes. Notorious history.
Notorious. Past life, we worked together at the Coca-Cola company, delivering social content for some of their biggest brands. Mm-hmm. Before that, you were at BBDO.
Yes.
AT&T, am I right?
Mm-hmm. Sanderson Farms, Georgia Lottery.
You know, social at the core, and before that, social pure or digital pure player. Mm-hmm. So social has certainly been your life. But I believe there was a moment before social in a world of journalism. Tell us why journalism set you up in the world you live in today, this kind of trend hunting, inspiration finding, insight gathering. How's journalism helped you on this journey of yours?
Because I planned it that way, obviously. I knew this, as I graduated journalism school. I did go to journalism school, and I worked as a news reporter for several years before I moved into the advertising world, at a print paper, a daily print paper, and then in Detroit at a TV station where I wrote actual anchor reads, the things on the teleprompter for the anchors to read.
We wish we had teleprompters today, no?
I know, right? It would probably go a little smoother, but hey, that's social for you. So yeah, journalism school really teaches you how to report and how to write, but it also teaches you how to critically think. It kind of set me up for being a critical thinker. And strategy is doing a lot of research, AKA reporting, and doing a lot of writing, AKA many, many strategy decks. So it was actually a great background and setup to move into this world. And as far as social goes, working in a daily paper and a daily news station, I mean, every day was different. Every day started over with fresh assignments. So it was actually a good background.
Love that. And then your first foray into advertising, you're actually a creative.
Yeah, I started out as a copywriter. Big shocker. I'd been a writer in journalism. And I started doing some freelance through some friends here in Atlanta. And it just became a full-time job. And that's how I moved over. So, yeah, I never went to ad school. But I've been doing this for almost 20 years. And I've learned a lot. So, yep, here we are.
We learn a lot over 20 years.
Yeah.
We certainly do. There's one thing that you've always prided yourself in, and I think from the very first moment that we met was about partnerships and about creating teams. And I think it stems from that idea of you being a copywriter working with your art director as this team. And then as you became a strategist, it was you and your analyst, but also you and your creative partner and how strategy and creativity need to be in lockstep with each other. It's not about back rationalizing a cool idea. It's about the insights that fuel them. And with that, probably a cool segue to your partner in crime in many ways, shape, and form, Mr. Cobb. It is awesome to have you here on the show.
Always a pleasure.
I mean, you had nothing to do with the aesthetic, the design, the vibe, the brand, and what it means. So this is all brand new to you as you walk into this.
Thank you for leaving me out of it.
Absolutely, 100%, as we would do.
You actually made the horse, right?
Yeah.
You came into the advertising world in a sort of more traditional way, having worked at sort of both big network agencies as well as sort of independent shops, multicultural agencies. Yep. Why the shift to social?
It's a good question. I think it's probably the exact same answer I would give for why I got into advertising in the first place, which I straight out of high school, went into college and majored in advertising, which I think a lot of people don't do. Like you have a past life and you move into it. Me, I fell into it face first because I just like the idea of being able to be creative, flex my writing skills, and not be a starving artist as a result of it. And advertising is one of the areas where you can actually have a steady job and get to do fun things with other people's money. So that's fun. So social was very similar. I mean, I was working in Chicago, like you mentioned, started in multicultural, jumped to a few different agencies, both big and small. And social wasn't a choice. It was just kind of the next foray and the next opportunity for me. And that involved me moving to Atlanta, where I ended up working with the two of you back in, 2019, I believe that was.
Wow.
So, yeah.
2019.
2019. So it's been about 6 years.
Lucky you.
I know.
It's 2 suckers for three suckers for punishment, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is virtuous circle of punishment that goes on.
Yeah.
That goes on
it's,
here.
It's
for
a
sure.
very reciprocated
Absolutely.
situation.
All jokes aside, I think when you find people that you gel with and that you work well with and that kind of get you, quirks and all, we've been on a long journey together, obviously in working and building out, in essence, the Coca-Cola Social Center, managing 12 of their biggest brands, as humble as Cobb is, was leading creative across trademark Coke, Fanta, Sprite, Vitamin Water, Smart Water, and Jen was leading strategy and the strategic team, and then ultimately leading the entire social center operation. So, I think that kind of set us up for, what was best in class. I think at the time it came when clients were trying to do social in-house and understanding that it was the challenges of almost being too myopic because you end up presenting decks to yourself. And then on the flip side, agencies coming in with this very cultural first way, but not really connected to what the business needed. And learning from that has helped to shape really what Dobbino has become, which is something that I think we're all very passionate about. We're 3 years into that journey. It's brand new, and we're only kind of telling the world about it now. Like,
why is that?
I mean, that's a great question, Jen. I think one of the things is that our industry is filled with a lot of smoke and mirrors. Let's be super honest. And invariably, you launch something with a vision, with a dream, and maybe a really, really good PowerPoint presentation.
Shout out to Microsoft.
Shout out. Off the back of that, you build a core team that shares your belief and your passion. I think that's a lot where you two kind of came into that. Is there was a little bit of history that it wasn't just a mad scientist, but rather a real substance behind what we could do. But we needed the proof points. We needed to stumble and fall. As any startup that is growing, you need to kind of learn from your mistakes and iterate and consistently improve. And for us, we needed to build a culture. And I think what organizations often get wrong is they think a culture is something that you etch on a wall of a boardroom and it's imposed upon people. But culture is formed by the team and the people that you hire. And I think where we are now 3 years in, we've got a really incredible roster of clients that we work on. We've solidified those relationships where we've got great rapport and delivering better and better work, and we're constantly pushing the work. We've built a lot of trust within our network, and we can talk a little later about our relationship with BBDO and Omnicom. But we've built, strength through that relationship, and strength comes through the work. That's how you ultimately build trust. And I think the culture, although continually growing and evolving, is forming. We've got a team that enjoy working with each other. And at the end of the day, we're in advertising. If you're not having fun, then why the heck are we here? Let's be brutally honest.
Or at least enough to balance out the other.
100%. 100%. So just on that, whilst we think about our model is this idea of being creator-led and platform first. And Cobb, question to you, as a more traditional creative who manages creators. When we started, we spoke about we just wanted to be creator-led. But this balance between understanding advertising, and at the end of the day, we need to sell products, and being platform first and native and understand how TikTok algorithm is operating. How do you strike that balance within your teams, and what do you look for in talent?
Yeah, I mean, I think being creator first is honestly an easier thing to mold, and I probably wouldn't have said this years ago, but
Right.
it's an easier thing
changed.
to mold than taking a very traditional creative who is kind of stuck in the ways of like the XYZ of advertising, and getting them to think kind of platform first or through the lens of the algorithm and what the audience is interested in first, and then trying to figure out how the brand can have a natural integration into that. You kind of have to have a mix, though. I think you need
'Cause
people.
You can over-index.
Exactly. You don't want all creators on your team because then I'm the only one who understands how advertising works, and that's probably not going to work out too well. But you also don't just want only creatives. And I think the shift has become, and it's happened with art directors probably the entire 15 plus years of my career, where they're constantly having to evolve, and they're shifting into different programs, different software. They're having to animate, they're having to edit, they're having to create more things than they were in the beginning of my career. That's now shifted to pretty much everybody in advertising. If you're not expanding your role just naturally, then you're going to get left behind. I mean, me being a copywriter and having a copywriter background, I'm either cutting up edits or I'm, making little changes in Photoshop, the things that my art directors allow me to do without completely ruining it. And I mean, I think that's what I enjoy most about, one, being in small agency setups or startup setups where you have more influence. It's also a more level playing field across the entire team. Like you, even though you're the CEO, I see you sitting there having video edit notes and coming in on thoughts about this, or even getting into the mix of things, which I don't think you see very often.
It's a very social thing too. Like that wouldn't work in other mediums. But
Exactly.
in social, it's and that's what's one of the things I love about our team is that there's not ego or stepping on toes. It's like we're all in, we're all throwing in together. Because I have a copywriter background, Cobb lets me write copies sometimes. If I'm like, anyone have it? He's like, no, go for it. And it's not like oh shit, strategy had to step in and write copy.
If you mess it up, I know who to credit.
There we go, 100%. Yeah. Well, I think it stems a little bit from the logo that is behind your two heads. The word Dobbino is both an anagram for BBDO and innovation, but it starts with two letters, and that is do. And I think that is core to exactly what you're talking about. It's really our ethos is we are hiring, working, inspiring doers, people who get up and go. And part of that is also foundational in our very first client. The Home Depot, who was our first client, is all about doers getting more done. And when a little bit of even that, founding story, client part of your DNA, it's etched in our name. It's not etched on a building. And I think that purpose, that idea of we all just do, and we can tell tons and tons of stories where we've done.
We've cleaned basements if we had to.
We've cleaned basements. But the idea that, no task is above anyone. Roll up your sleeves and get it done. Respect the creative idea and the opportunity, but also it's in the work. We're producing hundreds and thousands of pieces of content and having people that are deeply multi-hyphenate. Hopefully at some point we'll get the chance to interview the two incredible people on that side of the camera.
I was just thinking that.
Because Shannon and Danny are truly multi-hyphenate. Conceptual creatives, art directors can manage big broadcast shoots with multiple teams, understanding what we need to go out and do, yet they're in the content and they're right now filming this podcast and we'll be supporting and editing it. And I think both the passion in the output and the product that you ultimately produce, but also the willingness to get in and do it is just so core to who we are.
I've also decided that y'all's podcast producer team name is Shandy, if you're cool with that.
We just drop in names on people.
Shandy.
Sniggers happening behind the scenes.
Or it's Dannon, but that's taken. So
Yeah, you can't do Dannon.
You can't do Dannon. So look, I mean, I think it's an exciting proposition. We're moving into a whole new world of social media. Something, Cobb, you mentioned a little bit earlier was this idea of interests. In your view, how has social media shifted?
I think it's just evolved, and there's the world where, obviously when you first started social media, you're following your friends, you're following your family, you're just putting up you're poking people.
We were poking.
Yeah.
we're poking back.
Your
at it.
Facebook status always had to start with the word is. Like Cobb is And I'm like, I don't want to write my sentence with the word is, but now I have to, and it's really annoying. But it's evolved to just being like a connection, a place to connect with people, and it's really become a search engine of sorts where you're following what's interesting to you as a person, as an individual, and as a result, as the algorithm continues to evolve, it continues to serve those interest-based things. So I think social has become a place where people are not just going to connect and look at pretty pictures. They're going there for advice. They're going there to learn new things. They're going there to explore a plethora of different things that are unique and interesting to them. And brands have just kind of slowly but surely, some of them at least, begun to adopt that model, hopefully. So
we're definitely seeing the shift to this idea of interest media because, I mean, it's the way media have been buying.
Yeah, it's why we get junk mail.
Absolutely.
It's how, I mean, since the dawn of time, connecting with people through the things that they care about. I think the big difference, though, today is that people can sniff out brands.
Yeah.
And sniffing them out means swiping past them in a heartbeat. So when you're hiring creators and teams, how important is to create the correlation between the things they're interested in and the interest area? So maybe Jen, we had Kirsten on the show for the last episode. She's a great example of that. But maybe there are others that you could share.
Well, it kind of goes back to, in journalism school, one of the things that you do is you learn how to be a journalist, but at least at UGA where I went, you take a lot of electives because they want you to know about a lot of things. They're teaching you a skill set to write about them, but what are you going to write about? It's good to know a lot of things. And so for strategists specifically, I love finding out, you've got this side hustle. It doesn't have to be a paid one. It's this fun project that you do, this interesting background, because, as strategists, again, we're critical thinkers. We're bringing a strategy to life, but about what? And so, we have a team that works on a beauty vertical. Having Kirsten be a beauty influencer is a great, correlation, obviously. At the end of the day, the more interest people have, the more interesting they are. And the more points of view that we bring together as a team, the better the work is. I mean, if I thought that everyone that we were trying to reach with our messaging was just like me, it'd be very one note. It would be very weird and specific, let's be honest. But having more points of view and more backgrounds and more interests just makes the work better and more interesting. And it reaches more people, which is our ultimate goal in social.
It's funny when you talk about the idea of electives. I kind of think about that when I'm seeing back to Dobbinus Maximus III. I've got farrier content in my TikTok of someone literally carving horse hooves. How and why?
Because I told you, Nate the Hoof Guy, it's very good, interesting content to watch.
Yeah.
It's very soothing in a weird way.
And you accidentally watched one too long.
And now I have Hoof Guy in it. I mean, but jokes aside, I think there is a proposition that we talk a little bit about our concentric circles of interest, right? And in a way to connect with brands, at the center of that are core interest attributes. So these are things that are highly endemic to the category, to the brand. Self-care, healthcare, beauty is perfect for Neutrogena, who is one of our clients. They're obviously going to play there. Beauty is an interest category, and obvious that they play there, as do the rest of the category.
Yeah.
Shared interests, Home Depot is a good example with the work they do in sport. They're wanting to attract a younger Gen Z audience. They use College Game Day as the way to bring in new pros. There is a shared interest, and because DIY is not about doing it yourself anymore, it's doing it in partnership. And, Home Depot is there as your partner, like any team, makes sense.
Yeah.
And then on the outskirts are these curiosity interests. And these are the places where you're like, what? Yeah. How did they end up there? Are there any examples that you can think of where a brand has tapped into a curiosity interest, something that has been a little bit more disruptive, tried to break through?
So one of our clients is Bear Crop Sciences, large-scale agriculture. And a lot of our content for them is very targeted on that core interest because these are farmers who don't have a lot of time to spend on social, and we really want to be a utility most of the time. But, sometimes huge cultural moments happen that we can have a little more fun. And, Taylor Swift's album dropped recently. That's all anyone was talking about in social. We do a regular series where we feature Farm Kids, Farm Kid Friday. And we had this adorable little girl that we were going to be posting on a Farm Kid Friday, and we just tweak the caption a little bit to say the life of a farm girl, to play off of the life of a showgirl. And the reason that our clients because, they also know that we need to be a utility and highly useful to our community. But one of the insights we brought them is that we way over index on male followers in social, and we're trying to reach more women in agriculture. And knowing that Taylor Swift has a huge female following, it made sense strategically also to activate around that.
Yeah, that's super, super smart. Yeah. We were chatting a little bit earlier about Dobbinus Maximus III, and I joke about him being an AI bot in essence in horse clothing. Cobb,
It's so random.
I know it's random, but this is what gets you clicks and views, people. We're social media. Cobb, talk to us a little bit about AI and creativity and the way you're using generative AI now to potentially create greater efficiency, speed to market, and the likes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even inspiring your work and the things that you're doing. How are you seeing it as a benefit, and where are you seeing some of the challenges behind the technologies?
I think a lot of the challenges with the technologies is sometimes it's not the technology itself as much as it is the expectation of people who aren't necessarily utilizing it, what they think AI can do for them. I think also what's kind of challenging about AI is that it's kind of a yes man. It'll always just agree with a lot of things that you say. So you can almost tailor your AI to become exactly what you want it to.
An echo chamber.
And which creates an echo chamber. But on the flip side of that, you also get to give it a very pointed thought process and, create some diversity in how you come up with an idea. A lot of times I'm working on something and my mind goes to one place and it's, how do I break out of that? Sometimes it's just simply, leveraging AI in a way that can give me those prompts.
Mm-hmm.
I am still somebody who refuses to let AI write my copy, even when someone may ask me to do so.
So almost like a sidekick.
Yeah.
I kind of think a little bit about AI as this incredible assistant, not as the boss. Because if you're giving a junior assistant tasks to do, you're always going to check their work. You're going to try to give them as much information that they can in order to be successful, and a clarity of the brief. And also then just allow them to think and push the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah, and I think the fear of AI being something that's going to take jobs, I think is kind of silly. I mean, if that was the case, Photoshop would have taken jobs back when people were doing
100%.
The internet.
Yeah,
The internet
we're
would have taken
doing
jobs.
handmade posters and things like that. So it's not. I think you have to evolve with it, and you have to utilize it to the best of your benefit, because it does create, a potential for a faster process. But at the end of the day, it's still powered by the minds that are putting the inputs into it.
100%. Talking about powerful minds, I think we have one of these benefits, in terms of our AR technology that is powered by the powerful minds of Omnicom, and we have an integrated, AI solution that really brings in text-based, still-based, video-based,
Did you say
audio.
AI solution?
Did I say AI? AI.
That's just his
Captain?
accent.
That's
Yeah.
an
I
accent.
can't tell half the time.
True that. It baffles. But Omni AI as a proposition is a really powerful engine and really symbolizes this great access that we have to be part of a broader network. Understanding that social is generally part of a mix.
Yeah.
How do you see that relationship between the rest of our, what we call inter-agency teams, or working across the rest of the Omnicom universe working? Maybe Jen, you give your thoughts on some of the brands that you're working with, like how we work best with IATs or with other partners.
With AI, or that was the
Either,
transition?
both.
Okay. Well, I mean, I love being a part of an IAT or interagency team because it helps us focus and not having to solve all of the clients' problems or celebrate all of their wins. To be a part of an integrated team where we all kind of have a focus and a discipline. And of course, there's overlap, especially with social. I started doing social specifically almost 10 years ago. And I used to have to do a lot of, hey, don't forget us, include us.
Right.
With social too, don't forget the social.
Those are the days.
And now it's almost the opposite, where social is integrated into all the work streams. So that's great in a lot of ways, because there's no more, begging to have a seat at the table. Sometimes the lanes are a little blurrier, but having a strong agency team where we all kind of, bring our specialties to the table and can be specialists, I think it makes the work better. So that's what matters at the end of the day.
That's so true. Yeah, go on.
No, I was gonna say, and I think being like kind of deeply ingrained in social, to your point of it taking more of the forefront, is we're getting to see like consumer responses to the work way more quickly than you would, doing a TV spot or a radio ad. You don't really see the one-to-one kind of reaction, for better or worse, that someone's going to give to the thing that you just put out there. And so when you see that stuff, and you can not only do the strategic research, but also just the going deep in the comments and seeing the community management and unearthing real insights from that, often can lead to like informing the IAT and how to better pivot an idea versus just the traditional, here's your insight and here's the idea that one creative came up with in a dark room.
Yeah.
So
I love a community insight that we find in the comments and bring forward, and seeing a trend, or like, it's, a whole conversation can take another angle that we weren't planning for, but then we can lean into and kind of, celebrate that that's what the community wants. That's the strongest work. And like you said, you bring that insight work across the board to the whole
And it gives
team.
you the ammunition to show the clients, like, look, this is what people are responding to. We need to do more of this, and we need to expand this and do this bigger and better. I think we've done that a lot on some of the brands that we've worked on and continue to work on, because like the proof's there. It's different than 6 months later you see how your TV spot did.
That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah, for better or for worse, you get an immediate.
I've had a few worse, but
You get the feedback.
Those are fun too.
Exactly.
You talk about here for the comments. The reality is how the comment section has now not just become a place where people are engaging, but it's literally become a new content destination, almost in its absolute entirety. And I know, Jen, you and I've had many conversations going back to 2019. Where it was like, we don't want to do community management. This is like responding to customer care queries and the challenges. But how has that changed now? Like, there is the shift towards community engagement more and more.
Yeah, as Cobb was saying earlier about how just social has changed over the years, and it's less about having this kind of like interacting with your friends. That still happens, but that shifted to the comments. Like, literally, having a post go up that's talking at people, and then all of us go straight to the comments, because that's where people are interacting and having fun and like actually building off of each other and pumping each other up and like liking that and making that comment rise to the top. And brands do it too, for better or for worse. Sometimes it can be a brand pile up and you're like, okay, I don't know why Hardee's has an opinion on this. Shout out to Hardee's. I love you. But, I do think that is the place where a lot of those kind of more authentic social interactions happen, and it doesn't have to be someone and then maybe you make a TikTok friend that way. So,
well, and I think the comments section more and more has, a lot of times it becomes the content more than the content itself.
Without question.
So, I mean, there's content being made just to provoke the comment section. And that's very interesting. It's also the place where I think, I guess social in general, brands can actually have a one-to-one relationship with their audience and with their fans. And I think, to your point of years ago, you don't want to do community management because you're just responding to people complaining about what your brand is doing wrong, or they bought this and there was,
where's my package?
Yeah, there's something in the water and it's not what I paid for. It's not electrolytes. That actually becomes the fuel for like coming up with an entirely unique creative campaign and like flipping the script on what something might be. So I think having the opportunity to do that is rewarding for me as a creative, because I get to explore like the process of what I do differently as a result of that. But it's also interesting because you can identify super fans and people that are actually, really invested in your brand in a way that you can never do in any other media.
And reward them sometimes,
Yeah,
S&D.
and that rewarding, whether it's S&D or whether it's recognition or spotlighting, to me is very rewarding, because you can actually see the person that you maybe had a direct impact on that has something to do with the content or the brand, but can also be kind of secondary to who they are.
I love that thought. The other thing which has always been in the back of the mind, and we never know, I think we understand the variables of the algorithm, but I do think there's a lot of mystery behind, the weightings, I guess, of those variables. But one aspect within the variables, how you can create these kind of almost social synapses through the comment section. Because if you're a brand and you're engaging within a piece of content that is related to a particular interest area and folks are engaging with you, how that's potentially making a connection back to you, and whether your comments are really interesting and impactful is getting people to visit your account and create these kind of connection points. So not only is it a place where you can have these sort of one-on-one conversations, but it's also a place in which to create connections through those things that people are ultimately interested in, which is quite powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fascinating conversation. Jen, Cobb, it's really been such a pleasure to sit down. We could talk all day. I mean, we do talk all day.
We often do, yeah.
We often do. But this time in front of a camera, we're to the point that we run out of batteries. And it's just honestly been such a joy. It's a privilege to work with you every single day. You bring such humanity to the work, such great energy, and both of you are incredible doers who get it done, which is very special. It's a privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cue the Home Depot theme song.